The following is a special presentation of ABC Sports.
Tension is the key in IndyCar today. It washes through the pits, affecting everyone. Tension can cause accidents. It causes tempers to flare. It causes drivers to reach out in anger. Is it because the IndyCars already have run 4 races in 3 countries and crossed the equator 4 times? Or is it the closeness of the competition? Or is it this man, Jimmy Vasser, who's won 3 of the 4 races? His Honda Renard shod with Firestones is the combination to beat. Can they catch Vasser? He won on the Miami Oval and lost on the Oval in Rio. Today, the IndyCars are on the blindingly fast bull ring at Nazareth. This is Paul Page, and it's a record crowd at Nazareth Speedway for the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix. Cars already sitting down, ready to fire their engines. Let's go to Jackaroo.
1 year ago, there might have been 1, maybe 2 photographers chronicling Jimmy Vasser's entrance into his car. But not today, because he's the current point leader on the PPG IndyCar World Series. Now for Vasser, winning 3 out of the first 4 races has set a new stage for him. He has a different attitude about things. He is really confident about getting ready to run today in the Nazareth race, even though it's not the best of qualifying efforts. One important thing to remember, he's Firestone shod, has Honda powered. But more importantly, Vasser has made the big time. This week he debuted his brand new, very expensive motorhome. He says, next, I'm going to take a look at a plane. Gary?
Well, 1 row right in front of him. In fact, Jimmy Vasser is the man who starts from the pole position. When you talk about confidence on this whirlwind of a racetrack, I don't know if anybody's got more confidence than Paul Tracy. Look what he did yesterday in qualifying. The first ever on a mile oval to go under 19 seconds, 18.87 seconds, nearly 191 miles per hour. That puts him on the pole, but only by a blink of an eye over Emerson Fittipaldi. Paul Tracy dedicated that pole yesterday to the memory of his uncle Jim Tracy, who passed away this past week in England. He said he would love to be able to dedicate a race victory to his late uncle here today. Paul?
Well, before we move too far ahead on the race upcoming, which should be terrific, let's go back to the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach 2 weeks ago, because you saw that confrontation between Greg Moore and Christian Fittipaldi. Well, Christian Fittipaldi has been fined $5,000 as a result of contact with Greg Moore that he instigated. But after the race, there was a confrontation between the team from Pac West and the team from Newman Haas Racing, and so $5,000 penalties have been assessed to both of those teams as well. And as a result of that, Carl Haas of Newman Haas Racing has filed a protest saying he doesn't think that that's a valid fine. And then Michael Andretti, the chief steward, Wally Dallenbach, says for a kind of an accumulated group of offenses this year, has now been put on probation, and what the probation is strictly a matter between Michael Andretti and the chief steward, Wally Dallenbach. Now, let's go over to Bobby Unser. He's here. Danny Sullivan is testing for the 24-hour Le Mans. Bobby, they call this an oval. It's not really, and it is tough.
Paul, it's a very distinct tri-oval with 3 different turns and 3 different straightaways. I mean real turns. Number 1 turn, for example, has an elevation change between there and number 2 turn, 87 foot downhill, the way the cars are going to go faster. So when you go in number 2 turn, you're really going nearly 200 miles an hour. Then, for example, on the front straightaway, it's real sharp turn right in front of us here, making it very difficult to see very far around the racetrack because you're turning almost all the time.
All right, well, we're fairly close to the start of the engines and the start of the race. When we come back, we'll take a look at how they line up for the run, and we'll be ready to go green.
With new spark plugs, you get improved performance for a while. But only Bosch Platinum has a pure platinum center electrode that's heat fused. So Bosch Platinum reaches its self-cleaning temperature faster for full engine power and improved fuel efficiency over a longer performance life. Which means you'll replace a lot of other things before you change your Bosch Platinums. Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
You want to know how to choose a motor oil? Take a ride to your local garage and see what the mechanic puts into his own car. Fact is, of all the brands of motor oil, more ASC certified master technicians choose Valvoline for use in their own cars and trucks. So before you buy a motor oil for your car, know the one more top mechanics put into theirs. Valvoline, the #1 choice of America's top mechanics.
Come play the new Valvoline racing game on the net.
The road to IndyCar Toyota Atlantic Series. Past champions like Ray Hall, Andretti, and Sullivan have taken this very same route. That's why Toyota is committed to the Toyota Atlantic Championship, because we may not know who the next series champion will be, but we know where he's headed.
Born at Indy, driven everywhere.
The Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix. This ABC Sports exclusive brought to you by Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug. Valvoline DuraBlend, the #1 selling semi-synthetic motor oil. Toyota Motorsports, our minds are always racing. And Firestone, America's tire since 1900.
Well, the engines have started and the cars are rolling on the track, so let's take a look at the starting grid on the pole. Paul Tracy, his 9th career pole with a new track record, over 190 miles an hour, alongside Emerson Fittipaldi. He's won 3 times here at Nazareth, including last year. In the second row, Jimmy Vasser, the winner of 3 of 4 races this year, and Scott Pruitt, who has finished in the points in every race this season. In row 3, Michael Andretti, who won the first race ever held here, and Al Unser Jr. In row 4, it's Robbie Gordon, who has finished 4th in 2 of his 3 starts at Nazareth, and Bobby Rahal, whose last win came here in 1992. In row 5, it's Alex Zanardi and Christian Fittipaldi. The 6th row, Raul Boisel and Brian Herta, who did get started. In row 7, it's Greg Moore and Stefan Johansson. In row 8, it's Andre Ribeiro and Mauricio Gugelmin. In row 9, Jill DeFerrin and Adrian Fernandez. In the 10th row, Teo Fabi and Mike Roth. In row 11, Eddie Lawson and Parker Johnstone. The 12th row, Jeff Krosnoff and Pufo Moreno. And in row 13, Juan Manuel Fangio and Hiro Matsushita. So that's the lineup here, and as the cars begin to circulate the track, there's what it looks like. Passing zones and trouble zones. Now, one thing to point out, between 2 and 3, as Bobby Unser has already mentioned, it falls off nearly 90 feet down to the turn. Now, in today's field, there's the engines and the tires. And the stories we'll be looking at that we've already mentioned, Michael's probation. Penske Power is hit back. How about the Goodyears? Are they ready to go racing? And is there engine parity? Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Paul, one thing that you always see in the mile ovals because of the quick laps is this flag. It's popularly known as a move-over flag, but in fact, it is not a command. It's an advisory flag that Jim Swintel will display. It lets drivers know that somebody's coming up behind them. It basically means hold your line, watch your mirrors. You're going to see an awful lot of this on this amazingly fast oval here at Nazareth today. Jack?
Well, so fast is the racetrack here. What they're going to do, Gary, is they position flagmen around the corners with that passing flag and the yellow flag as well. Paul, a lot of action at Nazareth.
All right, so you ride on board with that new camera that we debuted 2 weeks ago on Christian Fittipaldi's car. We've got a camera, too, on Robbie Gordon as well, several as a matter of fact, and Bobby Rahal, our traditional nose cam there, and Jimmy Vasser. See whether or not he today can continue his tremendous performance. And, of course, Michael Andretti, you saw him there. There's the front row, Paul Tracy in the number 3 red and white car. And the bright red car, that's Emerson Fittipaldi. Look how close they are. As they come off the corner, look for the green. There it is, and here we go.
Terrible start, Paul. I was really surprised to do the green on that one. Tracy was really loaded for bear.
Well, Jim Swintal talked about that, and he said, because it's so tight here coming off the corner, if they come off that way, we will go green. What he didn't want was a slow start where everybody gets bottled up and ends up in an accident. So they got away safe and clean. He did exactly what he told the drivers that he would do. So Paul Tracy pulls away in the leader, one lap already into the record books, with Tracy leading it, followed by Fittipaldi. Scott Pruitt runs up into the third position. On board with Bobby Rahal now. There's your leader.
Now, Paul Tracy's had about a 3-mile-an-hour average advantage on everybody at the track. Paul also has more test miles, it's been rumored here, or said here, than the other drivers all combined. He tests here for the Roger Penske team an awful lot.
Well, this is, in fact, Penske's home track. Their shop at Reading is not all that far away, and so they are able to get down here quite a bit and test. Tracy said, I've tested in rain, I've tested in snow. He does have a tremendous number of miles. There's Scott Pruitt coming off the corner in third. That's Jimmy Vasser just behind him. And behind Vasser is Michael Andretti.
That's Scott Pruitt right there in the red and white car. That's Ford power. We'll have to tell the people as we go along off to what the engine powers are on these cars. So, because there is a difference, and there isn't a parity yet. Certainly they're getting a little bit closer together, we can tell by this race. But this racetrack is going to be a driver's track. Watch it all day long as we watch the race. It's going to be a driver's track more so than most of the tracks we have.
Michael Andretti with Al Unser Jr. closing in on Michael. And so no changes at the front of the order. And the nice thing about these short little bull rings, well, laps roll off so very, very quickly.
19 seconds around.
And now the leaders, look at that, already closing down on Hero and on Fangio. So in just a short period of time, the leaders are already on top of the back of the field with just 6 laps into the book.
He's got to be really careful. It's hard to pass here. Of course, Emo, you can see right behind him in the red car right there. It makes it easy for Emo. If Tracy happens to pick the wrong side to pass somebody, Emo's going to have an advantage. He can have a choice which side he goes on.
Bobby Unser told you about how unusual this track is in shape. Well, this will give you a good idea as we look down from above and we watch the leaders. Red and white, of course, is Tracy. The red car is Fittipaldi as they close on slower traffic. There they come onto the tri-oval, what is the front stretch. There's the start finish. There's turn 1. They've got a warm-up lane down on the inside of the track. Now you're on the back stretch and they're running downhill. Right here is where they enter the pits if they come in for their stops. Turn 3 and turn 4. Gary mentioned that move-over flag. Since the start, I've been keeping an eye over on the starter stand. I don't think he's put it away.
A lot of traffic out there. Big difference in the speed.
And now Scott Pruitt comes through traffic as well. All of the leaders handling up the traffic. Jimmy Vasser closing on Pruitt as we climb on to Jimmy Vasser's car in 4th.
That's going by the Toyota there, the 36 car Vasser just went by is Juan Fangio. That's Gurney's new Toyota. An only American chassis in the field.
Dan Gurney's All-American. You had some great successes with him, didn't you?
Had many good years with Dan Gurney.
So Jimmy Vasser trying to play catch-up now with Scott Pruitt as they run through traffic. And look at Michael Andretti. He's all over the back end of Jimmy Vasser's car. On board with Michael.
Easiest way to pass, remember, is to catch the guy in front trying to pass somebody and he can't complete the pass. Like, for example, Michael, he could have caught him right there. He could have maybe made a pass on the opposite side. It's a gamble, but often it works.
And there you see, too, just how very tough it is to get by, even though they are slower, because the line of this track will narrow down on you very quickly. Michael Andretti runs in 5th place. Paul Tracy still leads. Emerson Fittipaldi right behind him, and then Scott Pruitt. And back at the front of the field as Tracy continues to work his way through traffic. And he is doing it with some considerable thrill. 12 miles now complete.